Okay, so let's get started. So hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Rafi Shulman, and I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. I'd like to just take a moment and introduce the moderators who are joining us tonight: Donny, Fein, and Ernst from Elite Israel Realty, and Yaakov Epstein from Epstein and Co. law firm. Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we have over 170 people registered for the webinar, which is just amazing. We're so happy to be here and to share information, and we really hope that you find this webinar informative. Just a few quick things before we get started. First of all, we're going to be sending out a recording of the webinar. So if you've come in late or if you have to leave early, don't worry about it. Or if you need to watch it again, because we're going to be sharing a lot of information with you. So we'll send out an email with a link to the recording within the next couple of days. Feel free to watch it. And of course, share it with people. I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't able to attend tonight. So if you know of anybody, feel free to just send them the link. I'm sure they would find it helpful as well. We're going to do a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to type in your questions as we go through the webinar, but we want to try and do this in an organized fashion, so we will wait until the end and we will answer your questions at that point. Keep in mind that we're not going to be able to get to everyone's questions, and definitely we won't be able to get to the details because everyone has their own situation, so we'll try and touch upon some main themes and main questions. And then what we want to do is we want to have one-on-one conversations with every one of you. So we will have our contact information at the end so you can reach out to us. And what we will also do over the next few days is reach out to you so we can really get to understand what are your needs, what are your challenges, what are your goals, really make sure that we understand what you're looking for, and then we can find the best solution for you. So if you get a phone call from Israel or if you get an email from us, just take a moment, let us know when you're available, and we would love to have those conversations with you. Okay, so let's get started and talk about Olim Advisors and why are we here? What do we do? What are we doing? Why are we here? And how can we help you? And so first of all, let's take a step back in time a little bit to talk about Olim Advisors when we started back in 2016. So our goal was really to do two things. One was to help people with the pre-Aliyah decision. So anyone who's made Aliyah or is going through the process knows that there's a lot of decisions that are hard to make, decisions like finding the right community, finding schools if you have children, and then finding a home within the community. So what we do is we offer a very personalized service that guides people through the process, that helps them make those decisions. So when they get to Israel, they can adjust to the new lifestyle a lot easier. And then, of course, when people get here, they need things, they need help. So one of the main things that we do is we help people deal with the bureaucracy, like going to Misrad HaPnim and Misrad HaKlita, which are the government offices, opening up a bank account, registering the kids for schools, and just doing a lot of the things that typically take people weeks and sometimes months. We've been doing this for so long that we can expedite the process and really make sure that things are done quickly and things are done properly. Now, as we were doing this over the past few years, we started getting a lot of questions and requests for help from people who are looking to buy a home, whether they were making Aliyah or living here already. People were coming to us, and there were really two main concerns that they had. One is, what's the process like of buying a home? Because the process of buying a home in Israel is very different from the States and Canada and South Africa and UK and other countries from around the world. And the other concern that people had is, who do I work with? Who can I trust? Which developers, which realtors, which bankers, which mortgage brokers? And so what we did is we said, you know what, let's put together a service and let's help people in these two ways. Let's guide them through the process, so all the way from the beginning, all the way to the end. And let's introduce them to our network of connections so that they're working with honest people and working with reputable people. As we were doing this, one of the questions that came up a lot is, where are the new communities? For a number of reasons, people want to move to a new community. They don't want to move to one of the established communities. Maybe they want to play more of an active role in the community. Maybe it's something that they just feel more comfortable in. So that was something that people were really asking a lot about is which communities. And so what we did is we started looking for new communities, looking for new opportunities. And that's when we sat down with Rob and Donny, who we've been working with for a while now. And they said, look, there's this new project that we want to make you aware of. It's a great location. It's really a great, great opportunity. And so it's something that we thought would make a lot of sense for people. But before we introduced people to it, before we made them aware of it, we wanted to make sure that we took the time and that we really evaluated the opportunity, because there's a lot of projects out there and not all of them are projects that people should get involved in. And so we looked over the numbers, we spoke to people, we really got a good sense of what's involved. And the conclusion that we came to is that this is an opportunity that a lot of people would be interested in. And so we put this webinar together, first of all, to make you aware of this project, and also to let you know that we're here involved in the project, and we will guide you through the process from beginning to end and work with Donny, Rob, and Yaakov. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to you guys who will take over the presentation and go through all the details.
Thank you, Rafi. My name is Rob Ernst, and Donny, Fein, and I are co-partners and founders of Elite Israel Realty. We've been in real estate for a few years now, and we've helped hundreds of clients, mostly in the States, but many who have made Aliyah to find their homes in Israel. What we'd like to really do is to also introduce you to Yaakov Epstein. Yaakov is a very reputable attorney we've worked with, and many of our clients have worked with. Yaakov works with many foreign clients who generally need that extra help. You know, they're not here, they don't understand the system, they need somebody to help them, whether it's language skills or socially, or just dealing with the bureaucracy. And we found Yaakov to be extremely knowledgeable, extremely helpful. And Yaakov also, we're going to be discussing the idea of forming a purchasers group. Yaakov has firsthand experience in that. Donny, anything you'd like to add?
I think, Rob, you said it all about Elite Realty, about Yaakov, and Rafi did a great job introducing Olim advisors as well.
Great. Yaakov, anything you'd like to add before we begin?
Thank you for the introduction, and I'm excited for this beautiful project.
Okay, great. Rafi, you're going to unload?
I thought you were going to share the project on your end.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy to. Hold on one moment. I'll be happy to do that. Okay, so we're talking about Mevo Modiim. Where is Mevo Modiim? What is the community going to be like there? Why are we so excited about this opportunity? What makes it unique? Donny, can you please start to tell us all about Mevo Modiim?
Sure. Mevo Modiim is an incredible city. It's more better known as the Karlbach Moshav. It's been around for quite a while. It's a 10-minute drive from Modiin. We don't know why. Nobody has a good answer why this is Modiin, but it's very close to a stone's throw away from Modiin, which is an Anglo community. The Moshav itself right now, with about 40 families, has an very strong Anglo community, very close to transportation. You can get to Jerusalem, to Tel Aviv, just very centrally located, very easily. Very close to the Azrieli Modiin Mall. You're very close to the airport, which, you know, for people who travel often, or if you travel at all, it's just very convenient. And you know, it's also very close to just all the major cities where a lot of Anglos live: Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Beit Shemesh as well. Currently, as I said, the Moshav has about 40 families, and they're very excited to grow the Moshav. They have plans in the future to add shuls and ganim and a makolet, or a small supermarket, to the community. So it's a really up and coming, growing community. And whoever gets the opportunity to live there will be very lucky to live there.
Right, and one of the beauties of being in Mevo Modiim is that it's a moshav, so it's more of a suburban feel, but you're literally 10 minutes from, you know, the heart of the city. You're also within 30 minutes of all the major cities that people know and love and would want to visit. In terms of the opportunity, so let's just describe for you exactly how this opportunity became relevant. So Donny and I were approached by the owner of the land, and we have a relationship with him for many years. And he said, listen, guys, how would you like to buy an option on the land and form a purchasers group and sell the land to 52 individuals? And they could build their own homes where they can choose neighbors. You can live with your friends, with your family in a quiet, serene landscape. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. One of the reasons it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, besides being able to find an area where you can have your own home near an Anglo community, is also because the opportunity to build private homes is dwindling. It's almost unheard of in any Anglo area nowadays, and for the foreseeable future, that there will be private homes. The developers are incentivized to build large buildings, and the state is incentivized to have them build large buildings because there's such a crisis in the housing numbers. But what we want to really do right now is we want to explain to you really what is a purchasers group? How does a purchasers group function? How is it different than the normal process of buying from a kablan? So Yaakov, can you please just educate our audience on what is a purchasers group?
Well, when buying from a contractor, so you have one body that you reach out to, you buy from him, and they commit to deliver eventually an apartment. While a purchase group is basically all the individuals get together in order to buy the land together, and then hire all the different professionals needed in order to develop and own eventually the apartment. What's unique, what's nice about a purchase group is that basically from day one, you own the land. You own whatever you're building. Rob?
Yeah, okay, great. Donny, do you want to talk about the savings maybe? The reason why it's quote unquote a deal? I know we always tell our clients there's no deals here, but why is this really a deal?
Right. So as Rob said, we often tell our clients, people always call us up, we're looking for a deal. In Israel, as we mentioned, there's a lot of, they're missing a lot of apartments on an annual basis that are being built here. So we're always behind the 8 ball. There's no deals and there's no steals. But if you're going to get a deal, joining a purchase group such as this is really advantageous. And a major reason why is it basically boils down to cost. When you're dealing, it's economies of scale. You're buying in bulk. You're building 52 homes. You're not building one home. And you're able to really save on the costs from the kablan, and all the way down to the kitchen fixtures. When you're buying for 52 families, you're getting the best pricing, and you could really choose what you want to put into your home, versus just buying an apartment that you're stuck with the kablan's pricing, and you're kind of whatever price he sets, that's what you have to pay. Over here, there's a little bit more. You have a little bit more freedom to decide how you want to move forward with the building of the project and the homes. I just wanted to say one other thing about Mevo Modiim before, just to emphasize the fact that it's a moshav. Everybody wants to come to Israel. Everybody wants a view. Everybody wants a piece of land, and as opposed to living in a concrete jungle. This is going to be a beautiful, with greenery and scenery, and it's going to be really a scenic place to live versus living in a building type of situation.
Yeah,
I want to also
absolutely.
just jump in for a second, and just one more advantage about the purchase group is that you have somebody who's managing this project. We actually just built a home about a year ago, and my wife and I were responsible for managing it. We had a general contractor, but it's a nightmare. Anyone who's built a house knows that it's a huge hassle. And again, especially if you're in Israel and you don't speak Hebrew fluently, or if you're living abroad and you're trying to manage it here, one of I think the really strong selling points of this group is that you have a few people who are going to manage this process for you and help you make the decisions and really make sure that this project is done, completed on time, and is done at the level that you expect.
Absolutely. And one of the other points that I think we should emphasize is when you're buying it from a kablan, so they have the power, right? They tell you, this is the unit. These are your options. This is what you can do. This is the cost. the purchasers group basically takes that power back and says, no, 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 we're in control. We're going to choose who's going to be our management. We're going to choose the kitchen supplier. We're going to choose the cup line. And guess what? If they're not doing a good job, then they can fire them. They're not beholden to anybody. The group has tremendous power. And that's something very, very significant to consider about this opportunity.
Strength in numbers, as they say.
So legal services, Yaakov Epstein, as we mentioned earlier, and you've heard from Yaakov already, Yaakov has a tremendous resume. And we specifically chose him because of the tremendous feedback we've received from our clients, how highly respected he is, how he really is accessible, and just his ability to engage, along with the fact that he has experience in this group. And we really believe that it's important. Yaakov, one of the questions people may ask is, do we have to use you? Maybe we should have our own lawyer? How would you respond to that in the context of the purchase group?
So when joining a purchase groups, you have one lawyer who basically represents the group and individuals in the purchase, and with all the professionals that will be hired. And therefore, I will be representing and assisting everyone individually and as a group. If someone would like to hire a lawyer who will look into the initial documentation in order to join the group, of course, everyone is more than welcome to do so. But once the group is established, so everyone will be using one lawyer who will act and represent all of the group as one.
Okay, thank you.
Rob, is it possible on the screen to see the full PowerPoint presentation in a bigger screen? Somebody's asking, and I tend to agree with that.
Let's see if we can make this larger. Hold on, go back.
You should have a setting in PowerPoint to make it a slideshow.
Yeah, I did that. But it's showing up on my second screen larger. Let's see what about here.
Sorry to make things complicated. Just wanted easier viewing for the attendees. There you go.
Is that better?
It's bigger.
How's that? That's good. Okay. People have asked about the total cost. What is the total cost? How are we coming up with the total cost? And we're going to get into the financials momentarily, but just to give a rough estimate of what the total cost is. So Donny, do you want to just explain what the cost is and how that compares to other areas that are nearby?
Right. So okay. So as you see in the PowerPoint, we're pricing the homes on average 5.4 million shekel. That's to say that some homes are a little bit less, some homes are a little bit more. And we really came up with that price. We really wanted to be competitive in the market, and we looked into what's available in nearby areas such as Modiin. We looked at other lands that are available, and we really think that this is a fair price, especially being that it's a private home with a private entrance. Some have balconies, some have gardens, some have both. But you really wouldn't get something for anywhere near this price in anywhere close to in any surrounding areas. So while the price admittedly is a high point to begin with, as all homes in Israel are not cheap, but this is a very fair price for the home.
So one of the things that we did is we looked at a recent michraz, which was a recent sale of land, and it's done through a lottery system in Mevo Modiim. So we looked at it, and this happened, Yaakov, this was last week that this happened, is that correct?
Correct. Last week, Wednesday, it was advertised.
Okay. So this was last week. And you can see that the land was sold between 2.1 and 2.7 million shekel. Now, the people who got it at 2.1 obviously got a discount. They got a good deal. And but they're probably, the lowest on the list, which means maybe they didn't get the best plot or the best build in terms of size. But one of the things that you have to realize is that the winners of these lands are already looking to sell their plots on the secondary market for between 3.5 million shekel, the same price as our group. Now, again, we had to, in order for the group to work, you have to do it in 2 phases. The first phase is buying the land, and the second phase is the building phase. So we had to do that, but everybody should understand, you're really buying a home. You're not buying the land and now you're going to build a home. You're buying the home. It just, in order to check all of the boxes and the legal hurdles of forming a purchasers group, we need to do it in this way. Why? Because we need to have the land registered in each of your names in order to be able to form the group. Then once the group is formed, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to build the homes. But you're really buying a home here. So some of the benefits, some of the drawbacks we're going to discuss. And again, these are just a few of them. So what are some of the benefits? So getting a permit to build in months, not years, which will save you time and money. So as we're speaking right now, there's the owners of the land are still going forward on the process of getting a permit for you. Now, why is that important? Because once the group is formed and everything is ready to go, the permit may come a month to 3 months later. If somebody were to buy the land on the secondary market or win it through a mihraz, they would need to begin that process. And the process of getting a permit here can take anywhere from 1.5 years to 2 years to even longer potentially. Plus, it would mean that you would either need to hire somebody to do it for you, or you would need to take this on as a full-time job, as Rafi mentioned earlier, in order to do it. You hire the group will hire a kablan for all the units, not one, which again, we said drives down costs. It saves on architectural and engineering costs, and people will be able to move into their homes at least 2 years earlier than somebody who were to buy it on their own. So these are some of the benefits. Some of the drawbacks that we should talk about if you were to buy it on your own or somebody were to buy land is that you have to deal with the Israeli bureaucracy in building your own home, which again, anybody who's built their home in their own country knows that it's one of the things that people fear almost more than death. And the truth is that in Israel, I think they definitely should fear it more than death. You have 5 years of cost and time getting permits, working with a kablan who may or may not do what you want. Significantly more expensive to build your own home than to be part of a group. And you have a longer exposure to interest rates and to exchange rate fluctuations. Donny, do you want to speak a little bit about the home layout options?
Sure. So as you can see, there's 3 home layout options. There's 1 floor, 2 floor, and 3 floor homes. The 1 level home will be 150 meters or about 1,600 square feet, and it'll have a nice large garden. It's going to be two next to each other, and then the duplex homes will be 165 meters, which is close to 1,800 square feet. Plus, it'll have a balcony. With most of them will have a view, or each of them will have some sort of view. It depends which unit you're able to take. That'll depend on what the view is. And then you have triplex, which is 3 floors. That's 160 meters, split up to 3 floors, just over 1,700 square feet. That'll have a garden and a balcony. So you have three types of homes to choose from. And then we're also offering, just to keep it simple, for the Kvutzat Rechisha, there's going to be three levels of finishes: a standard, a premium, and a premium plus.
And everyone should understand that even the standard will be to an American standard. It won't be necessarily to an Israeli standard. It'll be to a high standard. But of course, there's always areas that people can upgrade, and we're cognizant of that, and we would like to offer that as an option. So here's just the layout of what we said is kind of a garden apartment, 1 level home. You see you have the garden, and you can see it's all around the side here. It's 150 meters on 1 floor approximately. You also have some parking spaces over here. But you can see, and again, I know that this is it's a compressed size. So if somebody was very interested, we can certainly get you a full size. We can really drill down into it. But this would be what the 1 level home would be looking like. Again, people would be coming in. They'd be coming in through the front door. And they're the only ones who would be going in through that front door. No shared space with somebody else.
Donny, sorry, Rob, just to go back for 1 second to that slide, just to clarify, there's actually 2 units shared side by side. So,
Right.
there's the left side and the right side. So you're actually looking, this is not one unit that you're looking at. You're looking at the left side and the right side, and they're attached.
That's
correct. Right. And then on top of these are going to be, as Donny described, the duplexes. So you have a ground floor, and then you have an upper floor. So as you can see, again, as Donny described, it's about 165 meters across 2 floors. You have a mirpeset. You can see the mirpeset over here, the nice large mirpeset. And you have, for all of these, by the way, you have either 4 or 5 bedrooms. You have 2.5 bathrooms. And some people have already asked, well, what if I want to make it 3 or 4 bedrooms instead of 4 or 5, or I want to add other things. So again, all of this will be decided by the group, but for the group's sake, except for maybe not putting up a wall or extending a room, most of the changes will be minimal in order to make sure that the costs remain low for the group. And here, so as you can see, and again, I know it's small, so if people are interested, we can certainly send them the full-size floor plans, but it's what's called the riviot, which means there's 4. So each of the homes are attached on 2 sides, over here and over here. And then on 2 sides, it's not attached. So on this side, let's say, and on this side, you have 2 parking spaces. You have a garden, as you can see, and you also have a mirpeset. So some of the gardens are larger. The gardens in the back are larger because in the front you have the parking spaces. And here are just a few of the architectural renditions or renderings, and you can see some of the differences in terms of the 2-floor versus the 3-floor and the single floor. All right, projected financials. So again, these are average projected financials. All of them are projections based on the diligence that we've done. We've looked into a lot of things in order to try to get the most realistic pricing, building in for a few things that may be unforeseen, but in general, these are the average projected financials. We would expect the cost to be between 5.1 to 5.6 approximately in terms of the scale. But as you can see, so you have land costs, and remember, Israel loves to charge 17% tax on everything. So these include that 17% on the land, on our fees, on legal fees, management fees, and so on and so forth. As you go all the way down, that 17% is included in there. So while, again, as Donny said, the cost of real estate is expensive, but a lot of the expense is also because of the fact that the government is charging 17% on every step of the way. So the costs that are passed along to the end user are significantly larger than potentially they would be if it wasn't the case. So the finance and timing. Donny, do you want to describe what the finance and timing is, at least initially, and then we can tell the people who are on this Zoom about a special offer that we're giving them now.
Right. So for purposes of this webinar, we just wanted to give really an overview, a summary of what the finance and timing would look like. So let's just say somebody were to contact us later this evening or tomorrow and say, look, we're ready to go. We want to register. What's the next step? So registration would come with the 5,000 shekel payment to us. That would register your place in the buyers group. And then the next step, 14 days later, you'd basically sign the agreement and you would transfer 350,000 shekels at the signing of the agreement. And then so that's step 2. And now you're halfway towards buying your home in the Kfutza Rakisha. And then step 3, 30 days later, you put down the deposit, which is the balance for the land, which is 3,350,000 shekels. And at that point, you're 3/4 of the way there to owning the home. And then the rest of the money will be deposited. The 1.7 million will be based on a 5.4 million shekel purchase. Will be deposited in escrow. And the account within 3 or 4 months of that. Rob, do you want to discuss any type of financing, or do you want to leave that for an individual basis? That's up to you.
Sure. So let's just step back for a second in terms of the registration and everything. So we're telling people now, this group, you're hearing it first, and it's a limited time. When you are purchasing and you're registering, so you're not only registering for a piece of the action, so to speak, you are specifically registering for a unit, for a specific home, a specific location, and a specific type of home. So the first person basically gets to choose out of 52 options, whereas the 52nd person only has one option. So it's very important that people who are interested register early. What we're offering people right now for a limited time is that you can register without putting the 5,000 down, and you can save your space in line. And once we have 10, 15 people registered, at that point, we're going to come to you and we're going to say, okay, if you're ready to move forward, now you have to put down that 5,000 registration fee, and now the clock will start ticking. But the fact is, we're going to give some people time. We know that it's a big decision. It's a very expensive decision, and some people may be a little hesitant to even start the process, but we're going to give it to you right now. We're not going to start the clock until we have 10 or 15 people registered. And at that point in time, then we'll start it. In terms of the rest of the process, so one of the things that we're working on is financing. Anybody who's really interested in moving forward and feels that if they're able to secure more financing, we're going to work with you. We're going to help you to get the financing. One of the things that people will ask is, wait a second, if I buy, let's say from a kablan, so I can put down 20% now and 80% later, why do I have to come up with all of the funds in 3 to 6 months? What's the reason? So Yaakov, can you please describe to people what the significance of having all these funds deposited in an escrow are?
Okay, so we are working on an option of financing for the second stage or the fourth stage of basically building the cottages. Now, at that stage, whoever is interested in financing can secure, will be securing the financing with the finance company that will be chosen at the time. But those who aren't interested, and therefore they won't need to be depositing the 1,700,000 shekels. But those who aren't interested in the financing for whatever reason, they will need to deposit the 1.7 million shekels in the escrow account. Now, the 1.7 shekels will be secured in the escrow account and will be released from the escrow account month by month based on whatever will be built, whatever portion of the home already will be built. And the reason for that is because we have to secure that the project will be built. We cannot be in a situation that we're building and also we don't have enough money. So there's two ways of securing, or you sign with a bank and you take a loan, and therefore the bank will release it month by month based on the group's needs, or you deposit the amount in advance in the escrow account, and from there it will be released month by month based on the need. Back to you, Rob.
Okay, great. So one of the points, and Yaakov and Rafi and Donny and I have discussed many times, is that in order to secure the success of the project moving forward, that not one individual can potentially delay anything, is to have all the funds available in the escrow account, which Yaakov obviously will manage as a lawyer and will not release unless and until they're needed. So the time frame. So the time frame, anticipated completion of the homes and delivery of the keys, is summer 2025. How do we come up with that number or that date? So right now, the goal is that the permits will come sometime between February and April. If it slips by even a few months, the building will take 1.5 to 2 years. That's where we come up with that. So how do you secure a home? So again, we'll go through the process. The person would need to reach out to Donny or myself, and you would say, I want to register. And again, for a limited time, you don't even have to put down this non-refundable deposit of 5,000 shekel. You just have to sign the registration form, tell us you're interested. You'll sit with Yaakov. You'll go over what the options are for the property. You'll be able to select your property. You'll register for it. And again, once we hit that certain number, we'll then come back to you and say, okay, are you ready now to move forward in terms of putting down that 5,000 shekel, which will start the clock to be able to secure your home. Once we have the group or the individuals to purchase the land, it will be registered in each person's name. A group will be formed. The group will then appoint a few members to form a VAD. A VAD would be 3/4 of the 52 members who would represent the interests of everybody else. They'll sit with Yaakov, they'll sit with whoever is chosen as the management team, and they will go through who do we want as our kablan, who do we want as our kitchen supplier, who do we want as our bathroom supplier, as whatever suppliers, and going through this process. And it will be a few years in the making, obviously, as we said, 2 years. But unlike Rafi, who was doing it really on his own and managing it, you will have a team of professionals that will be managing it for you. And of course, Donny and I will be involved in that process as well. And the goal is to move into your new homes in the summer of 2025. So Donny, anything else you want to...
I just want to jump just on a time frame. I just want to add something quickly, because this is something that comes up in a lot of conversations, especially for people who aren't living in Israel, is how quickly things move. And I know it's a seller's market globally, or it's definitely been up until recently, and things are moving really, across the world, but especially in Israel, things move so much faster. And so a lot of people who are kind of sitting on the sideline and hemming and hawing, they wake up one day and it's the property that they're looking at has been sold. And so I'm not suggesting, and I want to make this clear, I'm not suggesting that you rush through this and that you don't do the due diligence, because it's a major decision and it's a major investment. But what I am suggesting is that if you are serious about it and if you think this might be suitable, then take that first step and meet with Rob, Donny, and myself to get some more information, to at least start exploring it. Because the reality is, if you wait a few more weeks, a few more months, there's a good chance that this opportunity won't be available anymore. So just, again, it's not just specific to this opportunity. In general, real estate is, that's the state of the real estate market today, but it's just something that a lot of people are caught a little off guard about, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of that.
That's an excellent point, Rafi. And Donny and I can tell you many, many stories if you're ever interested in sitting on the phone with us for many hours of stories just like that, where people, were thinking and they were waiting, and even by a few hours or a day, and then they were ready to move, and it's not available anymore. So this is a limited opportunity. It's not like you're buying an apartment in a building that has 300 or 1,000 units. This is only 52 homes, and the people who register first and move forward and signing an agreement will obviously be the first to go. Donny, anything else you would like to add?
I was actually about to pretty much say what Rafi just said. In terms of moving forward, there are very few homes being built in Israel in general. There's lots of apartments going up, lots of construction, but it's all apartments. If you want a home with a private entrance and a garden and a balcony with a beautiful view and nice, beautiful green surroundings and a beautiful community, this is, we don't know of any other community that of any other opportunity coming up in the near future. There may be one other that's a little bit of a pipe dream that it's on the way, but it's going to be priced likely higher than this project is priced at.
Right. Yaakov, any final thoughts that you have before we turn it over to the Q&A?
I think you summarized everything. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, Rafi, would you like to lead us through the Q&A and see how we can answer any questions people have?
Yeah, of course. So the question here is it possible to purchase the land but then not build until sometime in the future?
The answer is no. That means the whole group buys it together. All the interest of the group is to build, and therefore we're moving forward and we're building.
Okay. There's a question, I guess, a little bit about the future of the community. Is there room for growth in the community after these 52 units are built? Will there be more homes, maybe more schools or other things that will add to the community?
Donny, you want to answer that question?
Yeah. So basically, as we mentioned before about the Michraz, that there's another 60 homes in the Mevo Modiim area that were auctioned off a couple of years ago. So that those are going to be built, and they're pretty much sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what we're going to be doing. Most likely they're going to be sold as well. We're looking at it becoming an Anglo community as well. And then there's another portion of land that I don't remember if it was 34, 36 homes that were auctioned off and given. They're actually given to the residents or the children of the residents of the Moshav. And again, they're most likely also going to be sold off. So you're not just looking at a community of 52. You're looking at, now we're into the low hundreds of families, and that's a community. And then that's how you start. And maybe in the future, the government will release other lands, and that's really how an area grows and becomes a community. And where you have all the services and everything. And it's not just living in Moshav Modiim where you have to travel to Modiin to get everything. Maybe one day it could be a community. It's not so far-fetched to say that it could be a community where everything is within the Moshav that one would need.
Right.
Okay.
And just to add to what Donny said, a lot of the people who have bought are waiting, as he said, on the sideline to wait to see what's going to happen. Once this group is formed and the buildings go up, the prices will also go up. So people who are looking to get in, who would like to be in this area, if you wait and say, well, I'll just wait it out and I'll buy it secondhand from somebody and I'll do it on my own. First of all, for a lot of them, you need to rely on a second person because it's called the du mishpachti. So they're attached homes. So if this person refused to do something, it could be that you're going to be somewhat limited in terms of what you could do in your timing. And it's very important also to realize that in terms of being able to come as a group to have your own shul, which some people have also asked us about. So there is public land that's designated right nearby. And Yaakov and I have already discussed a way to be able to hopefully secure that land to build a shul. And because this group would already be the majority in the area, it would be, I don't want to say it would be simple, but it would be relatively easy to be able to get the type of access to a shul that a group could come and form their own kehila if they weren't interested necessarily in integrated in the established shul.
Can you talk a little bit about the makeup of the community? I know it's still early days, but who do you anticipate will be moving, and what do you think the community will look like from an age perspective, a religious perspective?
Rob, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so it's very hard to say at this moment because, again, it really depends on who decides to become part of the group. We're not targeting a specific person over another person, a demographic over another demographic. It really depends. So what we've tried to explain here tonight, and we'll hopefully explain with follow-up calls to many of you, as well as to others who weren't able to make it this evening. Just so you know, Rafi, over 150 people had registered for this evening. Is that correct?
Actually 170. Yeah, so we got even more people.
Okay, great. So many people, for whatever reason, maybe they got busy with something or they just would like to get a recording, but so 170 people. So it really depends, who's going to come. One of the benefits of this opportunity is you can have a big say in who comes. If you come with a number of your friends, your family, or people in your community, so that will be the flavor. This group will have a major impact on what Modiim's future looks like.
Okay, great. Can you just briefly go over the financing, not to go into all the details again, but just there's quite a few questions about the down payment, and see if you can just recap that again. I think that would be helpful.
Sure. Yaakov, can you just describe for them, from your perspective, what we really are going to need and when we're going to need it and why we're going to need it? I think that it's very important that people understand not only the dollars and cents, but also the legal aspects to the financing.
Okay, we'll start with the fact that we are all buying, all 52 buyers will be buying the land together as a group. Each individual will be owning a piece of the land together. And together, the group will be hiring all the different professionals, and together, the group will be financing and building this project. It's as if building your own home, but with 52 other partners who everyone will do it together. So when we get to the stage of after we bought the land, and then we're moving ahead to go ahead and build, everyone's going to have to secure some kind of financing, or they will secure a loan, which the management company will be bringing a company or a bank to provide loans to all the members of the group, which, by the way, I've already done initial calls, and I've spoken with different companies who are willing and are interested in financing this group. And then therefore every individual will have an option or to sign up with this financing company or bank and take a loan from them, to a construction loan to finance the construction, or they can deposit the money in advance and secure building their cottage, their home. Now, there is an option that we're looking into, if needed, in order maybe to finance also in the purchase of the land, but that's something still that we're looking into, and we're not sure where we'll be able to secure that.
Okay, thank you. A couple of questions about the logistics and the rules that are going to govern this purchasing group, especially if things don't go according to plans. So if we're not able to get 52 buyers, what are the possible scenarios that might play out? If things don't go according to this plan A.
Rob?
Sure. So I'll describe it, and Yaakov and Donny, please weigh in. We've had many discussions already with the owner of the land, and the owner of the land wants us to succeed. So the first thing is that we believe that once we have a core group, 20, 30 families, that at that point it'll be pretty quick to fill up. One of the hesitations that many people have is they don't want to be the canary in the mine. They don't want to be the first one in. But once they see other people are in, so then they go pretty quickly. So we're fairly confident that we'll be able to fill the group. Now, let's say that for whatever reason we get stuck. We're stuck at 40, 45, 50. So we've already had discussions both with the owner of the land as well as with independent finance groups about potentially buying the additional units. And the worst case scenario from our perspective, which isn't necessarily so bad, except for the fact that it will cost significantly more to the end user, is that a kablan would come in and would sell it like a traditional sale. So what would happen is a kablan would come in, the kablan would say, okay, this is the price, and the price would likely go up by anywhere from 10 to 20% immediately in order for the kablan to be incentivized to build. At which point in time, the people who were part of the group can decide that they want to go to the kablan or that they don't want to be part of the group. Now, Yaakov will be holding all of the money in escrow, and except for any sort of miscellaneous fees, foreign exchange fees or any other fees that are incurred, all of the money, of course, will be secured and it would be returned to you. But there will be probably some fees. Yaakov, I don't know if you can estimate approximately how much the fees would be at that point.
It won't be significant. Really low fees, bank fees.
I think it's going to be negligible, right? There's a couple of questions here about the size of the property, and we've talked about this before and as well. Can you give an approximate size? And I know there's some variation from plot to plot, but just give the audience a general sense of what the size of the land will be.
Sure. Donny, you want to describe what the size of the land will be?
Yeah, well, we're talking about a 160-meter piece of land that each home will be built on. And then, like we said, then there's 3 different options of homes. One is 150 meter on one level. Then there's 160, 165 meters. So really maximizing the land as much as we can, providing with as much outdoor space and private space as we can with the land allotted.
Okay. There's a couple questions about the flexibility of making decisions. So you talked about the 3 different finishes that people can choose from. How does that play out? Is that like when it comes to a certain kitchen, or is it the floor? If somebody wants, one type of floor and somebody wants another type of floor, how much flexibility will each owner have when they're deciding, the floors, the wall colors, things like that?
Sure. So one of the beauties of this is that the group gets to decide. That's really the beauty. The kablan cannot force you into doing anything. Very often there's something called a mifrat, or a technical specification sheet, that is offered by a kablan and says, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get this type of flooring, you're going to get this type of a kitchen, you're going to get X number of cabinets, this type of a toilet, this type of flooring, whatever it is. Here the group will have the say, this is what we want. So for a standard finish, the group could say, normally, let's say you buy something from a kablan and they're not going to put in air conditioning. they'll do what's called preparation for air conditioning, but they're not going to put in the air conditioning. This group may say, no, everybody gets air conditioning. Everybody gets underfloor heating. Everybody gets not only cabinets that are on the bottom in the kitchen, but also on the top, kind of like, we're in America. They could say, we want to have some spaces where there's a place for a built-in, a walk-in closet. The group will be able to make those decisions. Now, again, we have to work within the parameters of what the permit allows for, but the group can really decide these things. And when we say kind of an upgrade, so again, everybody who owns a home knows that there's different levels of kitchen. There's different levels of air conditioning. There's different levels of tiles that you could use on the floor or flooring in general. Some people, the group may say, I don't want cold tiles. I would like that fake wood flooring that would make it a lot more comfortable when I wake up in the morning in all of the bedrooms. So again, these are the types of finishes, but it's something that would be decided and discussed amongst the group in terms of what the cost would be, and then it would be bid out. And there would be a management team that would be supporting the group throughout this process.
Got it. Somebody's asking about the possibility of renting out the home. So some people are looking at this as an investment, not necessarily something that they want to move into when it's ready, or maybe a bit down the road. Are there any restrictions on renting the home once it's built?
So,
Yaakov,
I mean, there shouldn't be any restrictions. I think Yaakov would take this
There's
question.
no restriction. Currently, there's no restrictions.
And Yaakov, let me ask a question. In terms of the purchase tax, so let's say somebody's not currently living in Israel and they want to become part of this group. By what point in time would they need to become an Israeli resident to be able to get the discounted rate on a purchase tax?
So if they become an Israeli resident for their first time, within 2 to 3 years, depends, they will be able to, that means they will have to pay the 8% in advance. And then if they become residents of Israel within 2 to 3 years, they can then request the purchase tax back and they will receive it with a 5% interest.
And you would be available to help them with that process, I assume.
Of course, that is included in the fee. That's part of the service.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'm just skimming through the questions. So there's a lot of specifics and a lot of questions about financing, and I know that that can be a bit confusing, but I think at this point it would make sense to focus on those financial questions on a one-on-one conversation, just because it really applies to everyone's specific situation. There's a question here about the infrastructure, and I know that's really important. And it was one of the main questions I had when we were looking at this, because a lot of times there's plans on paper, but then you have to wait for the for the municipality to put the roads in and the pipes and so on. Can you talk about where that stands?
Sure. Yaakov, I know that you've investigated this from a legal perspective to make sure that everything is going ahead, in terms of what the owner told us as opposed to what we actually see, making sure and confirming, doing our due diligence. Would you be able to answer that question?
Of course. So when you buy land in Israel, you actually pay the government for the infrastructure, for the streets, electricity, for everything that's needed. And that was done by the seller of the land, paid for that already. And therefore, the company who was hired to build the infrastructure on the streets and all what's needed are actually in the middle of working already. And in their contract, they're supposed to be ending or finish building all the infrastructure by February 2023, while they do have a 4 months grace that they can be late. And I went down to Mevo Modiim and I saw that they're actually working pretty advanced, and they're working on the infrastructure, and we hope they will be on time by February 2023.
Excellent.
Great.
And just also, besides what Yaakov said, also in terms of the sewage, I mean, it's literally everything that will be needed in the community is being worked on as we speak. And that's, again, one of the big benefits of coming in as part of this group versus having to do it on your own, is having to deal with all the things that people just take for granted. Like, when there's a new area, the infrastructure really needs to be done, and somebody needs to take responsibility for that.
Right. And there's a question here, and just to belabor the point for a moment about the ability to make decisions as a group. We all know when Jews get together and Israelis get together, that can be a little bit challenging, but anyone that buys into this group understands the pitfalls and understands the advantages. And so people that are doing this want to take advantage of the cost savings, and they're significant, right? The time and the cost. And so, yes, there will be some disagreements, and that's something that will be handled. But the way it's been structured from a legal point of view and a practical point of view is that there'll be a way to address those concerns and to get beyond it. So you won't have one person that can stop the process and say, no, I'm not agreeing to make a payment, or I'm not agreeing to this type of home, and suddenly it's one person that's preventing it. And so I know that's something that Yaakov has a lot of experience in, has included this in the legal agreements. And so this was one of the first concerns that we all tackled head on, is how do we deal with 52 individuals that definitely won't see eye to eye, to move forward, to come to an agreement, to make compromises so that the group as a whole can move forward and really move forward on a timely basis and take advantage of the cost savings.
Right, that's very important, Rafi, what you're pointing out. There are two ways to deal with this issue from a logistics perspective. So the first is you have 3 different finishes, right? Meaning people can choose to have a more standard, a premium or a premium plus type of finish. The second is that nobody is inhibited after the home is built according to the specs that they'll all agree to, of bringing in their own kabbalan to do some minor changes. I can tell you for my house that I bought into was part of a purchasers group. Now, I wasn't part of that purchasers group. I bought it secondhand from somebody who was able to, I'm trying to think right now quickly, he probably made about a 40 to 50% return at the time, just from buying it in the purchasers group. Now it's live, it's available, and he was able to sell it at a very, very nice return. So when he bought it, he got a standard type of a home, and then I had to bring in the kabbalan to do everything from soup to nuts. I had to deal with everything that was not included in the package that they negotiated. So it doesn't stop people from being able to do it, but what it does is it allows the entire group to move forward. And as you mentioned, Rafi and Yaakov, if you want to speak to this, Yaakov will put safeties into all of the agreements to make sure that it's impossible for somebody or a group of people to hold up the process.
That is correct. That's one of the main points that we'll be very careful about, that no one can stop the process. And we're moving forward. We want to have, by summer 2025, the homes should be built. And therefore, together with all the benefits, we will also have the language needed to deal with anyone who will try to prevent or stop anyone in the group. And I've dealt with this in previous groups, and I know how to deal with it, and it will be in the language. So everyone should be, B'ezrat Hashem, safe, and we should succeed in building this.
Amen. And with that, I'd like to thank you guys for joining. We're now, 9 o'clock here, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So Rob, Don, and Yaakov, thanks so much for joining tonight. I'm excited about it because this is something that I think a lot of people are looking for. I actually happen to live in Hashmonaim, which is just a stone throw away from this development. And so I will be keeping an eye on it. And I know, location, as everyone says, that's a phenomenal location. And I think that this is just something that will be a great solution for a lot of people. If this is not suitable for you, if it's not within budget, there's plenty of other options as well. We'll be happy to talk to you about that as well. But what I encourage you again and invite you to do is to take that next step. Let's have these, individual calls. Let's really understand what your questions are. We can spend more time, we can answer them, and get you to the point that you're comfortable with the information so that you can make a decision. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We want to wish you a good week, and of course with Rosh Hashanah coming up, a healthy and a happy new year. And hopefully, in the near future, we can help you have a home here in Israel. So be well, everyone. Take care, and we will speak to you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Rafi.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.